news this week was about Terence Crawford taking the title, not paying sanctioning fees. What do you think about that? A lot of fans are like divided on that. What do you think?
I see both ways. I see the WBC, I see Terrence. They both right, to be honest. They both right. They both right in their own ways.
Danny Garcia has seen it all in the boxing business, from world titles to the high price of keeping them. Now, he's weighing in on the explosive drama surrounding Terence Crawford's refusal to pay the WBC's sanctioning fees, and his take isn't what you'd expect. While the boxing world is divided between calling Crawford a revolutionary or a rule breaker, Garcia is exposing the brutal financial reality that championship gold comes with a six-figure tax that never ends. For Garcia, this isn't just a headline. It's a reality he's lived for years, and he's finally pulling back the curtain on the millions that vanish before a fighter even steps into the ring.
Your career, have you ever had a moment where you had to pay one of these sanctioning fees?
Believe it or not, I paid millions in sanction fees. Six figures every time.
Most boxers are terrified to speak out against the sanctioning bodies. If you badmouth the WBC or the WBA, you might mysteriously drop in the rankings, losing your shot at a title fight and the payday that comes with it. That is why Danny Garcia's recent interview with Fight Hub TV is so fascinating. He didn't dodge the question, but he didn't just pick a side to be trendy either. When asked about the biggest news of the week, Garcia leaned back and gave perhaps the most honest answer we have heard yet. I see both ways. They're both right to be honest. It sounds diplomatic at first glance, like he is sitting on the fence. But as he continued, it became clear that Garcia wasn't protecting the organizations. He was pulling back the curtain on the hidden costs of being a champion. Garcia isn't just an observer here. He is a victim of the system. He has been at the top of the mountain, fighting the likes of Errol Spence Jr. and Keith Thurman. He knows exactly what those sanctioning letters look like when they arrive in the mail, demanding a cut of the purse before the fighter even steps on the scale. His perspective shifts the narrative from Crawford is being difficult to, wait, is this actually standard practice?
Well, I mean, it was the right amount for what I got paid. You feel me? He made so much, so it's like a cap. You can't take out a certain percentage if you're making 50 million. That's crazy.
I said, like fans
but
are
like I said, they both right though. Because he wasn't ranked at 168, but they gave him the opportunity. So they're like, we gave you the opportunity. But he's like, yo, just because I'm making all this money, you can't take all that. So they both right, they really are.
We see the flashy cars, the jewelry, and the headline-grabbing purses, but we rarely see the deductions on the paycheck. In the interview, Garcia got brutally honest about his own finances. He revealed that over the course of his career, he has paid millions in sanctioning fees. Let that sink in. Millions of dollars earned by taking punches to the head, handed over to an organization for a leather belt. That adds up, Garcia admitted, noting that he pays six figures every time he fights for a title. This is the part of the story that rarely makes ESPN. Standard sanctioning fees can range from 2% to 3% of a fighter's total purse. When you are fighting for $50,000, that fee is manageable. But Garcia points out the flaw in the system. When you reach the level of a Terence Crawford or a Canelo Alvarez, that percentage becomes astronomical. Garcia proposed a solution that seems painfully obvious: a cap. He argued that if a fighter is making $50 million, the sanctioning body shouldn't be entitled to an uncapped percentage that runs into the millions. There should be a flat fee, a maximum limit that respects the organization without robbing the athlete. It is a logical stance, but logic rarely dictates boxing politics. The WBC feels they are owed their cut, regardless of how many zeros are on the check.
Where Terence Crawford was stripped of his titles because he didn't pay a fee back to the World Boxing Confederation or whatever it is for $300,000. So they stripped his title because he didn't pay them that amount of cash afterwards. And so he's not the champion because he didn't pay them. They stripped him, whatever the case. It seems like really odd timing that this news gets released right now when tomorrow, I believe, there is a conversation happening in Congress about a little bit of an evolution of this or a revival of this particular act. And I know Zuffa is a massive piece of this, but you're not the only ones. There's a lot of boxers that are backing this. There's a lot of people in the boxing business that are backing it. There are retractors, obviously. Can you tell me about what you guys are trying to do and why people would not want you to do it that are in the boxing world?
Of course. So first of all, on the Terence Crawford side, you watched that fight on Netflix on September 13th. Terence Crawford, amazing effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how in fact is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation because he didn't pay a fee? That would be akin to the Los Angeles Dodgers, whether you're a Dodger fan or not, having won a grueling 7-game World Series in one of the greatest Game 7s of all time. It would be like if Major League Baseball came to them and said, well, you didn't pay us a fee, so you're no longer the World Series champion. It's only in this sport of boxing where you see nonsense.
While Danny Garcia was breaking down the economics calmly, Terence Crawford chose a different route: total scorched earth. If Garcia is the diplomat, Crawford is the revolutionary. Following the announcement that he was being stripped, Crawford took to Instagram and Twitter with a reaction that will likely be quoted for years. He didn't issue a press release, he went on a rant.
Mauricio, got a lot to say about me not paying him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize? Like, who the fuck you think I am? Well, you better slap your fucking self and paying your ass shit. Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any of the other sanction bodies? Huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit. The fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanction bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanction bodies agreed to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you? The fuck? You can take the fucking belt.
Go fuck yourself, Crawford told the WBC, explicitly stating he wasn't going to pay them a dime more than he felt they deserved. He revealed that he had actually offered them $180,000, a sum comparable to what he paid other organizations like the WBA. But the WBC allegedly wanted more, reportedly calculating their fee based on his massive earnings from the Canelo and Madrimov fights.
He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route, no response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved to tell you.
Crawford didn't stop there. He devalued the very object everyone is fighting for. He called the prestigious green WBC belt a trophy and claimed the only title that matters is the Ring Magazine belt, because crucially, the ring belt is free. It was a declaration of war. Crawford is effectively saying that his name is bigger than the alphabet soup of organizations. He is betting that fans will pay to see him, regardless of what hardware is wrapped around his waist.
It's free! It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC Silver, the WBA Intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you the best, you know?
Naturally, a disruption this big was bound to ruffle some feathers among the old guard. Enter Oscar de la Hoya. The Golden Boy, a man who has transitioned from superstar fighter to superstar promoter, didn't view Crawford's rebellion as heroic. He viewed it as arrogant. In a video response that quickly circulated online, De La Hoya expressed his disappointment in Crawford. He accused the Nebraska native of disrespecting the sport that made him rich. Oscar's argument was sharp. Did he forget where he came from? He suggested that the monopoly money, the massive paydays Crawford is finally seeing late in his career, has gone to his head.
How do you think you rose to that level? Through the ranking system. You get positioned to make that kind of money. I mean, come on, you're 38 years old. You've been paying sanctioning fees for a long time in the past. There's nothing new here. It's nothing groundbreaking. You had no problem when they were ranking you to fucking fight Canelo. It's like my agent getting me a huge movie and he's asking for his 10% commission of all the work he put in. And then I tell him, you know what? Go fuck yourself. How fair is that? I've heard Crawford say many times that he loves the belts, but suddenly the WBC is the enemy and the ring belt is the only one that matters? I mean, seriously, Suleiman has to be rolling in his grave. Literally. I mean, it sounds like you're reading a script or something. Come on, you've been the ring mouthpiece and the chosen one since they came on board 2 years ago. We all know that. I mean, it looks like that monopoly money really got to your head.
To De La Hoya, paying the fees is part of the tradition. It is the tax you pay for legacy. He believes that by tossing the belt aside, Crawford is spitting on the history of boxing. It creates a fascinating conflict in the public eye. Is Crawford a greedy diva who forgot his roots, as Oscar suggests? Or is he a pioneer finally standing up to a system that has exploited fighters for decades? This is where we have to circle back to Danny Garcia, because he added a crucial piece of nuance that explains why this isn't just a simple case of WBC bad, fighter good. Remember, Garcia said, they are both right. Why would he defend the organization that took millions from him? Garcia pointed out that the WBC gave him the opportunity. This is the uncomfortable truth of the boxing business. Before Terence Crawford was a $50 million superstar, he was a contender needing a shot. The sanctioning bodies provide the rankings. They order the mandatories. They force champions to fight rising stars. Without that structure, Crawford might never have gotten the belts that elevated his profile enough to fight Canelo in the first place.
Man, brother, just real quick, what do you think about TC and the WBC, him going after, you know, kind of complaining about the sanctioning fees, things like that?
And honestly, bro, and I'm a fighter, right? So I have to pay sanctioning fees and stuff like that. From my understanding, I heard it was from like past fights. But regardless of everything, you know, you wouldn't be undisputed. You wouldn't get all this stuff without the belts. But also the fighters wouldn't. You wouldn't exist without the fighters, you know. But like I said, I heard it was from past fights. So you got to pay what you owe, man. But I don't know, man. I don't really know what's going on with that.
It is a symbiotic relationship. The fighters need the belts to build their value, and the organizations need the fighters to pay their bills. Garcia acknowledges that the WBC played a role in Crawford's rise. They helped build the stage he is now standing on. The question is, at what point does the fighter outgrow the stage? Garcia seems to think there is a middle ground, but right now, neither side is willing to walk to the center of the room. This standoff signals something much scarier for the boxing establishment than just a lost title or a single unpaid invoice. We are potentially watching the beginning of the end for the belt era. In the background of this dispute, rumors are swirling about new leagues and organizations, specifically with whispers of Zuffa and Dana White eyeing the boxing space.
So right now, my plan is to get in and I always talk about USA's Tuesday nights. I was a big fights. I was a big fan, and a lot of the things that I did in growing the UFC, the sport and the brand, all the things I liked about boxing and all the things I didn't like about boxing. I want to get in there and start putting together fights with not only up and coming guys and people that we think could be future stars, but it's sort of morphing into also putting on fights with some of the biggest stars in the world.
Sure. I talked about how Zuffa Boxing is only going to recognize Ring Magazine belts on this show as the championship. But I think about baseball, right? You have AAA, and then you have the major leagues. And I know you're very into the development of fighters. That's what you really geek out on your contender series, right? So while I love the fact that you're not recognizing the sanctioning bodies, just the Ring Magazine belt as the world championship. But in AAA, you do have a national championship, right? And then it's not the World Series, but is there going to be a Zuffa belt where the winner of the Zuffa belt has a springboard into Riyadh season and a championship fight, a Ring Magazine fight?
You and I have never talked about this, but the answer is yes.
Right, of course.
What will happen?
Of course, yeah. Right.
There will be a Zuffa belt, and then there will be a ring belt. And yes, I will not recognize any of the other sanctioning bodies.
If superstars like Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford decide they don't need the WBC, WBA, IBF, or WBO to sell pay-per-views, the entire business model collapses. We saw it when Crawford praised the Ring Magazine belt. He is signaling to the fans that the undisputed label matters more than the specific trinkets. Fans on Reddit and Twitter are already debating this. Is a fight less exciting if there is no belt on the line? If Crawford fights the next top contender for no title, millions will still watch. The sanctioning bodies know this, which is why the WBC's reaction was so aggressive. They aren't just fighting for $300,000, they are fighting for their relevance. If a cap isn't introduced as Garcia suggested, we might see a mass exodus of elite fighters who simply refuse to pay the tax.
So I do think the organizations, the sanctioning bodies, have to be a sort of necessary evil, but deals have to come to the table when you're talking about this kind of money, because like Crawford said, he's the one risking his life, he's the one taking the punches. The Ring Magazine title is free. It's the one you don't have to pay for, but it also has no power. There's no fights that are ever enforced by the Ring title. You can't. The Ring, that was always my problem with the Ring title. When even in the days when HBO used to push it and stop mentioning sanctioning bodies by name, and all there was a push in the boxing media. That's why if you notice that era of fighters in the Mayweather era, there wasn't a lot of undisputed champions. It was because the fad of the day, because that's what boxing is. It's just the latest fad. That's what they go by. Today it's just cool. Tomorrow something else is cool. Back then it was uncool to go for the sanctioning body, so you didn't see a lot of undisputed champions at that time. Now the sanctioning bodies have become cool again, so you see more fighters unifying and looking to create undisputed titles. At that time, I remember HBO, ESPN, even with Friday Night Fights, they wouldn't mention the sanctioning bodies by name. They would just go by the Ring Magazine title. And my problem was the Ring Magazine title had no power. It was cool to have, but you could never enforce a 1 and 2 first fight. There was no way to enforce it. And what's worse is they wouldn't strip. They'd never strip if the main guy at the top never fought the number 1 or number 2 guys, So or if you wanted to take a year off and not defend the title at all, they just wouldn't strip them. I think the Ring title also is problematic, even if it's free, So like I said, I think there's got to be a middle ground where people have to know how to meet in the middle, and sometimes egos get in the way, and sometimes greed gets in the way.
So, who won this round? Danny Garcia might have the best scorecard. He exposed the painful reality of 6-figure fees while admitting that the system, however flawed, helped build the legends we watch today. His call for a cap on sanctioning fees is the only solution that makes sense in a world where purses are skyrocketing. Terence Crawford has made his choice. He kept his money and lost his title, betting on himself over the establishment. Whether this sparks a revolution or just leaves Crawford with a lighter trophy case remains to be seen. But one thing is certain. The next time you see a boxer holding up 4 different belts, just remember, that gold isn't just heavy to carry, it is incredibly expensive to keep. So that's all from today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video.